Hello, my beautiful internet friends. Welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for joining me here on Trauma Talk today. We are going to be going through a video about modesty over on a channel by the name of Classically Abby. This video was shared in my Dismantling Purity Culture Facebook group. There's a link to that down below, by the way, if you're interested. And I thought it'd be a good one to go through and give some commentary on. Recently, thanks to my Dismantling Purity Culture Patreon, which the link is on screen, thank you guys so much for being a part of this. If you've been following this channel for a little while now, you know that I've been talking about purity culture for a bit. I'll put some resources to what purity culture is down below if you're not aware, but basically it's the way that a lot of conservative evangelical churches taught young people about gender and sexuality and their role in society. And something that was very heavily talked about and very heavily placed upon especially women was to be modest so that guys don't think or do bad things to you. And there's so much wrong with that. But I thought that it'd be good to have this discussion through the lens of someone who currently adheres to this sort of a mindset. Hey friends, it is Editing Joe in a very echoey room popping in to say one thing. I wanted to clarify that I don't believe Classically Abby is Christian. I believe she is Jewish to my knowledge. When I talk about purity culture, I talk about the fact that it's like the evangelical conservative reaction to teaching gender and sexuality. But the reality is that the tenets, the ideas of purity culture extend far beyond that. And I wanted to use this video as an example of generally what is taught in purity culture, because this echoed a lot of the things that I have heard and I'm familiar with. And also to show the point, as many of you have pointed out, that it's not just evangelical Christianity that taught these concepts. So with that being said, let's dive back in. So as we dive in here, I want to make something very clear. I am not speaking against Abby at all. I don't know her in real life. I don't know her intentions, and any comments that I give are going to be based on this video and this video alone and the points that she is making within it. So let's do this. I'm also going to be talking at the end and throughout the video a little bit about my thought on modesty and what that means to me. And I was going to say like what that could mean to you too, but frankly, it's up to you. But we'll get into that. Let's dive into the video.
Hello, beautiful ladies, and welcome to today's video where we're going to be talking about modesty, why it's important, and why it doesn't mean looking like garbage.
I'm all for not looking like garbage. Also, her set is super cute. I want to start off with a compliment because I have a feeling I'm not gonna like the rest of what she says.
Modesty. It's a concept that some women truly hate.
Okay, so I realize she's only talked for like 2 seconds here, but I want to pause this for a second. When she says that it's a concept some women truly hate, in my own personal opinion, to my knowledge, there's no one who hates modesty. There are a lot of people who hate that term because it's been forced down their throats as something that they have to be and something that also they'll probably never be because everyone's definition of modest varies. And maybe there are some people who hate modesty and think it's ridiculous, and that's okay too.
It's also a concept that a lot of women embrace. First off, what is it? Modesty is dressing in a way that doesn't sexualize your body. But the question is, who do you want to be desirable to? And do you want to be noticed for being beautiful or being sexy?
I think it's okay to want to be noticed for both. I don't know. I don't think there's anything wrong with wanting to be thought of as desirable or attractive or even sexy, right?
Modesty is about treating your body with respect. It's about recognizing reality. That men are visual creatures, not emotional ones.
This is a lie. This is straight up a lie, and it's something that I heard growing up in church my entire life, and it's something people still talk about. Men are visual creatures, which is like the most popular phrase imaginable in purity culture. Women are emotional. So men just want to see you, and if they see you looking too good, they're gonna think things about you, and they may even do things about it. And women don't really care about how anyone of the opposite sex, if that's who they're into, looks like. They just want to be loved and appreciated, and it doesn't matter what you look like. Neither of these things are true. Men are emotional and physical creatures. Women are emotional and physical creatures. Anyone who identifies anywhere on the gender spectrum, how you're attracted to someone or how you want to appear is personal. Some women are super turned on visually. Some men are much more turned on by an interpersonal emotional connection. It absolutely varies. This statement also really perpetuates the idea that, as she said, men are not emotional creatures, right? Like emotions are bad and guys shouldn't have that, and that is such a dangerous lie. This whole concept also places a lot of guilt and shame on women who are visually stimulated, visually aroused, visually interested in, I'm just gonna say men and women here because that's what purity culture talks about, but I want to make it really clear that if you're a woman and you like other women, that's fantastic. If you're a guy and you like other guys and women, that's fantastic. If you identify as non-binary, fantastic. Purity culture talks about men and men can only like women and women can only like men. So for the rest of the video, that's how I'm going to discuss it, but please understand that I recognize the flaw and how they talk about these things. Okay, it's Editing Joe yet again. I did want to clarify one additional thing. I absolutely 100% understand that people can be very distracted by physical features being emphasized or shown, or just physical features in general. I'm not unaware of that. I'm not unaware that that can be incredibly distracting and might take most of your focus, but lumping all men into the category of they can't see you as a human being if you're showing a little bit of skin or cleavage or wearing a shirt that fits you really well, I don't know, whatever it is incredibly unfair. So yes, some people are going to have a very difficult time seeing beyond something that's being shown, for sure. That's how people work, but that's not everybody, and suggesting that all men in particular, not even women, just all men, are a certain way when it comes to this, I think is deeply unfair, and the conversation needs to be broadened a little bit.
It's about leaving things to the imagination.
This was another thing that was told to me quite often, leave something to the imagination, don't just show everything, right? If I'm leaving things to the imagination, that suggests that someone's going to be imagining things about me, and the whole point of purity culture is that you can sin in your mind just as easily as you can sin with your body. So why are we promoting the idea that we can leave things for people to imagine about? On the one hand, purity culture talks about how you should never sin in your thought, you should never think about other people lustfully, you should never really think about other people like that. But on the other hand, it's like, leave things to the imagination so people can imagine things about you and your body. No! I think that's a really bad way of thinking about things.
It's about dressing beautifully and attractively, but not garishly. It's about embracing femininity.
What if I don't want to dress femininely? From the time I was like 13 to 15, I wore only guys' clothes. I didn't want to be a guy. I didn't want to be a man. I wasn't questioning my gender identity. I was fine being a woman. I just didn't want to dress super femininely. I do a little bit more now because I enjoy it, but it's okay if you don't want to physically present yourself as feminine if you're female. There's nothing wrong with that. And there's nothing immodest about not looking feminine.
It's about dressing in public in a way that's appropriate for everyone. From children to grandparents to moms and dads. Modesty is a way for you to respect yourself and respect others.
The whole idea of modesty being about respecting yourself and respecting other people, I get where they're coming from on that. I really do. I don't dress in a particularly revealing fashion really ever. It's just not how I like to dress. It's never how I've liked to dress, and that's okay. And it's okay if you show a lot more skin. Like, there's nothing that is inherently wrong about that. You're not disrespecting yourself if you wear a crop top, in my opinion. It's just not something I personally like to do. I think that it's considerate to dress for an occasion, like maybe not go to a wedding in a bikini, unless it's like a beach wedding, in which case go for it, just out of respect for the people around you, being like, okay, this is the attire for this event, so I am going to respect that. Okay, I could totally see that, but the idea that if you are showing more skin than the girl next to you, that you don't respect yourself, I think is totally backwards, because there are a lot of reasons people choose to wear the clothing that they're wearing. It doesn't all come down to a lack of self-esteem or lack of self-respect. Sometimes it's what someone feels good in. Sometimes it's what someone enjoys wearing. Sometimes it's really hot outside and it's necessary.
When you go to the park and you're surrounded by families with children, is it fair to dress in a way that's distracting? No.
One of the reasons that I chose this video to react to, I watched a little bit of it before filming this one, was her tone. And please know what I'm about to say, as the rest of the video is just my own personal opinion, but I really don't like being talked down to. I don't like being instructed based on someone's understanding of their own morality, their own spirituality, with no room outside the lines. She says, is that fair? No. Is that fair? No. There's absolutely no room for interpretation there. She knows the answer and she is right. At least that is how she presents herself in this video. Abby, if you're watching this video and you disagree, I would be happy to hear from you and have a conversation with you. But talking to people in this tone is how I was raised in purity culture, from youth group leaders and from pastors and pulpits. It's like you're scolding people for even thinking anything. You're scolding people before they've even done anything wrong. And you're scolding them and you're talking down to them if they disagree with you in any way. And the fact of the matter is, you're probably right about some things, you're probably wrong about some things, I'm probably right about some things, I'm probably wrong about some things. So making statements that are you just know the facts and you know the truth and this is how it is and this is how it should be for everyone, really rubs me, and I think a lot of other people, the wrong way. I don't appreciate being talked to like I'm a disobedient child when I am not that.
When you meet a guy and immediately have a connection, you have one chance to make an impression. Do you want him to leave having your body at the forefront of his mind? or you as a person. If you are wearing something incredibly revealing, it will be difficult for him to focus on your personality.
That idea right there, if you're wearing something revealing, it's going to be difficult for him to focus on your personality. Yeah, stereotypically, if there's a bunch of cleavage showing, it might be distracting to certain men if men are interested in women. Okay, I understand that. At the same time, one of my biggest problems with purity culture is sexualizing absolutely everything. Sexualizing every action and thought and piece of clothing and lack thereof. Everything becomes about sex and sexuality and attracting people in the right way and all of that. The fact of the matter is, if you're showing a little cleavage and you're talking to a guy, it's entirely possible that he might be talking to you and listening to you as a person. And if he notices your body as well, guess what? That's okay, that's human. The idea that if you're showing a little too much of whatever, he's not gonna be paying attention to you for you. He's gonna be paying attention to you for those, little bit of cleavage that you showed is really frustrating to me because it's reducing men into these like sexually driven creatures that's all they can possibly think about. And men are human beings that are complicated and have different desires and are attracted to different things just like anyone else.
Of course there are men who will look at you this way no matter what, but more men will think of you as a sex object if you dress like one than if you dress like a lady.
You got two options in this world. You can dress like a lady or you can dress like a sex object. Which one do you want to do? There's this black and white thinking again. Maybe some people don't want to dress like ladies but also don't want to be seen purely as sex objects, and that's okay too. Maybe some days you feel like looking like a lady, whatever that means to you, and maybe some days you feel like presenting yourself more sexually, and I honestly think that is okay too. Again, it depends on the context and the situation. I believe in being appropriate to the situation. Like, this isn't about modesty, but like, don't wear white to a wedding. That's just generally understood as to be kind of disrespectful. So if you're in a situation where it's not particularly appropriate, again, like a bikini to a wedding, maybe that's not going to be respectful to people getting married because it's not what they were looking for their event. Yes, be respectful, absolutely, if that's what you want to do. There's so much more to the spectrum than just presenting yourself as a sex object, whatever that means, and dressing like a lady. There's a lot of gray area in there depending on what you're going for.
Does that mean you should look like garbage when you meet someone? Absolutely not. You should look attractive.
You should look attractive. That is another thing that is very much presented and promoted within this culture, and it frustrates me. It's this idea that you always need to be thinking about how you're presenting yourself to the opposite sex. Again, only heterosexual men and heterosexual women in this context, which again, I think is a very damaging way of thinking and talking about things in the church. But as a woman, I was taught that I needed to dress in an attractive and appropriate and modest way. So I needed to attract people because I needed to get married, right? Because that's what good Christian girls do. But I also needed to not be sexy about it. So I need to always be thinking about how I can be attractive and look nice and, make myself desirable, but without making myself desirable, because you're not actually trying to be desirable, are you? You don't want men to pay attention to you, do you? But also you want to be attractive. You want to dress attractively because you do want a man to find you attractive. It's very confusing to me. There are so many contradictions. And I think that's one of the reasons why it's so difficult to grow up in this kind of a mindset, because there's no way to really get it right.
And here's the thing. You can dress modestly and beautifully. There are so many examples of this.
I absolutely agree with that. If your definition of modesty is covering as much skin as possible, there are a million ways to look absolutely beautiful doing that. I am in no way promoting in this video that you should wear less clothing or wear more clothing. I think you should wear what you feel comfortable in, what you feel good in, how you want to be portrayed to the world. How we dress ourselves is how people initially see us. Yes, that's absolutely accurate, but just reducing us down to sex objects and sexual beings if we're showing a little bit of leg is so demeaning, and it's so harmful to perpetuate these kinds of messages within the church.
It's amazing to work out and stay fit, but I hope that when I'm 50, people are talking about my accomplishments as a mother, as a wife, and as a woman with values, not my muscle tone. So
for her, I think that's fantastic. She wants to be a mother. She wants to be a wife. She wants to be regarded as someone with wisdom. I think those are beautiful things, and I hope that is how people think of her when she is 50. But at the same time, if you're really into running marathons when you're 50 and you're really proud of the fact that you're very muscular and in shape, that's a huge accomplishment. It's okay to want that too. It's okay to be proud of that and to aspire to that. As someone who has dealt with body image issues, as most of us have, and an eating disorder, I can tell you that I don't think focusing so much on our physical appearances for the sake of appearance is healthy. At least it hasn't been for me, and I can't think of many situations where it is healthy to spend a lot of time only thinking about this and trying to perfect this. But people's priorities are different. Not all women at 50 want to be thought of for being great mothers, because some women, like me, don't want to be mothers. Some women do want to be regarded for their accomplishments in fitness, and there's nothing wrong with that.
So what does modesty really mean? It means not wearing something that shows off every curve and crevice of your body when it might be better off left in the bedroom. It means not wearing something that could easily be mistaken for lingerie. It means not wearing something you'd be embarrassed to see your family in. I get the pull toward wanting to dress immodestly, and I'm not criticizing anyone for it.
She says she's not criticizing anyone for ever wanting to dress immodestly. Please let me know if you disagree with this, or Abby, if you're watching this, feel free to correct me. But it felt like the whole tone of the video is criticizing people who want to do things differently because it's black and white, right? More than once she poses a question. Is it okay to, be distracting? No. There's not any room for interpretation there. There's not any room for conversation. It's a yes or a no. It's a black or a white. It's you're good or you're bad. You're wrong or you're right. And I am so tired of that way of thinking, because that is, for the most part, not how the world works.
And let's dress like the ladies we are. I'm hoping to do some more videos on how to dress modestly and fashionably.
I think dressing modestly and fashionably is fantastic. If that's what you like, awesome. I personally am a big fan of sweatpants and yoga pants and t-shirts and gym shorts, because that's what I'm literally most comfortable in. Occasionally, I will try to be fashionable, but those moments are few and far between, my friends. I want to make it really clear, if I haven't, I don't have anything against Abby. I just really disagree with her. I disagree with this way of presenting things. I disagree with imposing shame and wrongness on anyone who does dress more revealingly. There's like this hierarchy in the church, and I think it bleeds into culture and society at large, that if you show more skin, or if your clothes are more, tight to your body, like yoga pants, oh dear, that you're somehow less of a woman, that you don't respect yourself, that you don't respect other people. And frankly, that's just not true for everyone. I feel like another issue with modesty and purity culture is that it extends to more than just what you're wearing. Like, if you're wearing especially vibrant eyeshadow, you might be seen as a little bit of a harlot because you're trying to get attention, you're trying to be attractive, you're trying to be alluring to the opposite sex, aren't you? And that's bad, but at the same time, you are supposed to be attractive. And if you just happen to like makeup and happen to like playing with colors on your face, where does that leave you? That leaves you feeling like crap about your artistic ability and about the desires that you have and the motivations. It places all kinds of judgments on people's motivations, and I think that that is not necessarily a good thing to do. I'm not an expert on modesty. I don't ever want to be, and I don't claim to be, but I don't think people should be forced into these boxes of you're modest or you're immodest, you're wrong or you're right, especially when different people's definition of modesty varies so greatly. Not everyone wants to be modest, not everyone wants to dress modest, and that's okay too. Personally, I think my style generally falls greatly into the category of what most people would call dressing modestly, because that's what I want for myself, that's what I'm comfortable in, that's how I've grown up dressing, that's how I'm evolving to dress. I don't know, it's just what I like. It's legitimately what I like, what I enjoy, what I feel good in. And what other people feel good in varies. Someone wearing tighter fitting jeans because that's what they like, because that's what's in style, because whatever, does not mean they are an immodest human being or bad in some way than someone wearing baggy jeans. There's so much room for interpretation. If you believe in modesty, dress modestly. I think that's absolutely fantastic if you're doing it because you want to, not because you've been shamed into only thinking about things one way. I'll finish out this video by saying one thing. I saw a post the other day that I then shared in that Dismantling Purity Culture Facebook group, where someone said something to the extent of, being raised in purity culture means that as a 30-year-old woman wearing a sports bra to work out in my own home, I still feel shame. And I can personally attest to that. I am 29 years old. Occasionally, very occasionally, I have worn just a sports bra and like yoga pants to work out when I'm home alone or home with my husband, and I still feel immodest. I still feel shameful and like I should be covering up, even though the only person around is the person who, by purity culture standards, I am allowed to show some skin around, and also just alone, by myself. I still feel dirty and wrong for doing that. That's really messed up. I shouldn't feel that way. I'm working on figuring that out. I'm piecing that apart. Doing these kinds of videos is part of that for me. I guess the point of this video is dress how you want to dress. I do believe in being respectful of different occasions, generally I think that's a good thing to do. But your style and how you present yourself is up to you, and I'm not going to judge you harshly for that. If you're someone raised in the church or who still is a person of faith or a Christian person and believes that it's spiritually right to be modest, the definition of that is literally different for everyone. Jesus never said, like, don't wear only sports bras when you're working out. You must wear a baggy t-shirt over that. He never said, don't wear a dress where it's cut a little bit too low because then I won't like you anymore. This idea of modesty is something that the Christian evangelical church has adhered to, but it's never promoted in the Bible as something you have to be or you have to do. You get to make your own decision on that and what it means for you. I'd be really interested to hear your thoughts in the comment section down below. This is not something I've spent an extensive amount of time researching or looking into, just sort of my off the top of my mind thoughts. I'd really like to hear yours. If you disagree with me, disagree with me. I'd love to have a conversation and learn a little bit. Thanks for listening, guys. Thank you to the members of my Dismantling Purity Culture Patreon group for supporting these videos. It means the world to me. It really, really means so much to me. Thank you. If you're interested in joining that group and financially supporting what I'm doing here, here's the link on screen right here, and also linked in the description down below. To you watching this video right now, thank you for spending a few minutes out of your day hanging out with me here today. I really appreciate your time. You could be anywhere in the world doing anything and you chose to hang out with me for a little bit, and I really appreciate that. I love you guys. I'm thinking about you, and I will see you in the next video. Bye, guys.